What's the word, folks? It is Colin Neal here for Sam Houston Sports Talk, and I always tell people that this is probably, well, not probably, it is the best time of year when it comes to sports. You know, you got March Madness, conference tournaments, all that great stuff. College baseball, college softball gets in full swing, and you have NFL free agency, and then I guess for some reason this year, out of nowhere, Bam Adebayo scores 83 points in a basketball game, passing Kobe Bryant for the second most all in a game all time in NBA history. Just wild times. Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby trade. A little shady, if you ask me. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to get you caught up on all things Sam Houston sports. This will be quite a quick one, mainly because I wanted to really lead to this pod on the day of that Bearcats men's basketball begins their journey throughout the Conference USA tournament. The women's begin tomorrow. The women begin tomorrow. So we'll get to that real quick. But first of all, if you haven't already, be sure you subscribe today to the Same Use Sports. Follow us on all of our social media outlets if you want the audio form only of the podcast. If you're driving somewhere, you're like, hey, I don't want to be looking down on my phone watching your ugly face while I'm trying to get somewhere for my lunch break. Well, you don't have to. This is available on Spotify if you don't know already. But anyways, I just want to dive in straight into just some quick tidbits real quick for softball and baseball. Last night, softball took on SFA. They unfortunately fell 8-4, and then baseball fell to Baylor. It was it was just Baylor just using some power to break away from the Bearcats 13-5. Both softball and baseball will be in action though this weekend. They are both at home, so if you decided to stay in Huntsville during spring break, or you come back home coming back from home, heading back to Huntsville as classes will resume after this week. I think it's currently spring break. Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure it is currently spring break for Sam Houston. I mean, everyone's different, but anyway, softball will have a 3-game series against New Mexico State, and baseball will have a 3-game series against Jax State. So a big, packed weekend of Bearcat sports comes your way, but it is already a packed week in the essence of the hardwood, which is, going to be the essence of this pod, is to get you ready for this week in Huntsville, Alabama, the lesser Huntsville. I am obviously mostly kidding, but let's go ahead. I always like to go ladies first. Of course, they don't start till tomorrow. They will take on the Liberty Flames this on this Thursday, the 11:30 a.m. 11:30 a.m. Central Time tip, Thursday, March 12th. Sam Houston, of course, beat Liberty earlier this season in Lynchburg for the first time in program history. They were able to beat the Flames. They beat them 59-53. All right, if you just experienced a jump cut, that's me attending to the pups' needs. So, it is what it is. But anyway, like I said, Liberty falling to Sam Houston in Lynchburg, 59-53 at Liberty Arena. Ogami, she had 17 points, 11 rebounds, and Pop Inman nearly missing a double-double. She had 15 points and 9 boards in that game, and Montecone with 12 points. It's gonna be that was a night though where again Sam Houston struggled from the 3-point line, but you know what, they grinded it out, they toughed it out, they made it hard for Liberty to play their game. Now Liberty, led by Avery Mills, who is a really good player, she's a very efficient shooter. I'm pretty sure they're going to be much more ready this time for Sam Houston, because when it comes to tournament time, everything's different. You're more on your heels. It's all tense. This is a tough first matchup for women's basketball. And if they can take care of business, if they go ahead and then keep playing their game, try to replicate exactly what happened to Liberty, what they did to Liberty on the road, then I think they'll be fine. And the thing with this is that it's on neutral floor, and Sam Houston took that win on the road at Liberty. And Granted, this will be just the second time this season that they'll be facing off because they didn't play them twice in in the regular season. But the fact that Sam Houston took that victory on the road against Liberty, it gives me a little bit more of a decent hope in a way for the Bearcats to take the victory against the number 5 seeded Liberty Flames. Now, going into this game, Bearcats have led Conference USA ranked fifth nationally. Fifth nationally. You heard those words right. 25.5 turnovers per game they have forced, and including 12 games where they forced over 25 turnovers. Now, I will say that the Bearcats do need to do a bit better on their own end to take care of the ball. And I've, of course, keep saying this over and over again. They have a fantastic defense, ranked 50th nationally, second in Conference USA in scoring defense, allowing 58.8 points per game. They also lead Conference USA and rank 26th in the nation in offensive rebounds per game, 14.8, and 16th nationally in free throw attempts per game. Now, the free throw attempts, that's one thing, but putting them in through the hoop is another. As this season, the team has shot 61.6% from the free throw line, and your top 3 players are not any of the main players that you want going to the free throw line. In fact, your top 3 players in free throw percentage, 12 attempts, 14 attempts, 8 attempts, and then you finally run into Ogayemi, 121 attempts, 71%, which is actually not bad. But that free throw shooting has to get better. It has to be on point. We've seen Sam Houston in the past, men's and women's, lose games because of free throws. So the free throws need to be on point in not just this game, but in a potential tournament run for the rest of the way. The 3-point shooting has to also just needs to get better. 28% from 3 overall in the regular season. It's just not acceptable. And then 39.5% from the field is just not acceptable either. You are absolutely really good at turning the ball over. Excuse me. You are really good at turning the ball over, and you can score points off of those turnovers. I had to really thought for a moment, but I think they can win this game. It's just a matter of, can they find points outside of turnovers, offensive rebounds? Like, it's one thing to get offensive rebounds. It's another of converting those second chance points. And they just really need to find a way to get going, let's say, from the 3-point arc. If it's open, go ahead and shoot it. But if they can't get going from the 3-point arc, Liberty is they're gonna make Liberty's job a little easier. But again, the defense is the main thing here. If they can keep it up on that end, I think they'll be just fine. We'll just have to see. Again, Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Central Time tip. It will be on ESPN Plus. You can check out the radio call as well. Stephanie Keel will be on the call for the Bearcat Sports Network. So go ahead and check it out. Like I said, Bearcats 1-5 all time in the series against the Liberty Flames. Also, shout out to all the Bearcat women's basketball players that have received all conference honors. Of course, Fontacone, first team all conference USA, also named Defensive Player of the Year, and Deborah Ogayemi, second team all conference USA. So shout out to Fonta and Deborah. Congratulations. And hopefully they can help the Bearcats to a deep run in Huntsville, Alabama. Now on to the men's side of things, as the guys, they play tonight. Late tip, kind of a little bit of a theme for this year's team, but 8 p.m. Central Time tip. It's the last game of the day for the Conference USA tournament, day number 2, out in the Propes Arena, whatever it is. But they'll be taking on a familiar foe in the New Mexico State Aggies and head coach Jason Hooten. Some really cool tidbits. For the first time in school history, the Bearcats will face a former head coach in the conference tournament. New Mexico State head coach, of course, Jason Hooten led Sam Houston from 2010 to 2023, where he went 263, 121, which he has the most wins in school history. This is not, however, the first time a Sam Houston head coach has squared off in postseason play with his predecessor. Hooten was, of course, former, he succeeded Bob Marlin when he was Bob Marlin's assistant. And then Marlin went to Louisiana following the 09-10 NCAA tournament season, and Hooten replaced Marlin. The two found themselves on the opposite sides of one another in the second round of the 2015 CIT at Johnson Coliseum in Huntsville, where the Raging Cajuns won on a buzzer-beating 3, winning 71-70. So kind of some cool tidbits, some cool history here, but we look at the present day here now. Of course, last time these two teams faced, it was to open Conference USA play for both sides, and it did not go so well for Sam Houston as they lost 87-78. They were down 20 at the half. I mean, they only scored 28 points in the first half. It was just not the Bearcats' day that day. Of course, they were sitting around in a hotel room, I heard, and it's just one thing about sitting around in a hotel room all the time, just waiting to play. And when you're on the road, it can really do a number on you. But this was back all the way in 2025, December 21st of last year. And man, both of these teams change. Both of these teams changed quite a lot. New Mexico State looked to be on the high end of things, beginning Conference USA with a dominant victory over Sam Houston. Sam Houston would begin a stretch for them where they lost 3 of their first 4 games. But then of course we saw how New Mexico State season, trajected, and we seen how Sam Houston's season trajected. And of course, Sam Houston had a lot more available players in that game. They had Manning, they had Ford, they had Begg, and Jacob Walker and Jacoby Coleman weren't the players they were today. So Matt Dam wasn't the player that he is today. Like that trio of freshmen has drastically improved since that game, and they've had to due to injury. So I think New Mexico State is taking on a much better Sam Houston team than they did back on December 21st. Now they grinded it out against a 7 seed Jack State team. New Mexico State is the 10 seed, so that was a bit of an upset there. Jamel Jones had a good game, and I think that matchup between him and Cashy Nat will be a one to watch. And I also think Vaiko Illich down low in the paint will be something to keep an eye on as well. Just looking back on that game back on December 21st, it just didn't, the tape just didn't look good. Even with the highlights that were in there, the very few, you could just kind of tell that the Bearcats were just sluggish in that game, and they also weren't doing the best down low around the blocks and in the paint. These last 2 games, the Bearcats have been without Po' Boy King due to his back getting tweaked just before tip in warmups against Delaware. Of course, the last 2 games were inconsequential. They didn't matter at all, as Sam Houston ended up securing the number 2 seed anyway. If I remember correctly, Jack State beat Western Kentucky. That's what after they lost to Delaware. So that is what allowed the Bearcats to secure that number 2 seed and WKU to be the number 3 seed. I will say on that side of the bracket, WKU does kind of scare me, but I will be just interested to see what they do there on that front. And it's the same thing with women's. That first matchup with Liberty scares me. It's those middle teams on the seeding chart of the field that kind of scare me a little bit. I do think that Sam Houston men's basketball should take care of business tonight. It is gonna be close for a lot of the game, I think. Heck, I think we might find Mexico State with an okay lead, perhaps. Of course, this could be just me underwhelming my expectations to not be disappointed. Like I said in the women's basketball segment, tournament ball is just so different. And honestly, another thing that separates Sam Houston from New Mexico State is the guard play. Jacob Walker, Cashy Nat, Damon Nicholas Jr., Po Boy King, Jacoby Coleman. I mean, shoot. I mean, Beaumont's a forward, but he's kind of a guard forward esque. He's improving a little bit. I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting bout for for both sides. It's but I think Sam Houston should take care of business, and then they will have the day off the next day if they do end up moving on in the Conference USA tournament to see what happened to see who they face on Friday. Yeah, Friday. It would be either WKU or Middle Tennessee. Let me check that one more time just to make sure I'm correct. Make sure I'm not confusing the men's and women's brackets. Just like the women, though, I will say, let's see. Oh no, it's WKU Kennesaw State. Okay, I mixed it up a little bit. I mixed up the 5 and the 6. That's right. It would be either Western Kentucky or Kennesaw State on Sam Houston side of the bracket. It would be if they moved on, and if Liberty was to move on, it would be either La Tech or Middle Tennessee. By the way, Missouri State kind of. If I'm Liberty, I'm kind of scared of Missouri State a little bit. I don't know. It's just something about Missouri State. I don't know. I am a big fan of Osei Bonsu. I will say that. By the way, Conference USA coaching news. Ballard of FIU, the head coach, got notified apparently today, per John Rothstein and Pete Thamel, that FIU will be going a different direction. So Conference USA will have a new head coach on the men's basketball side of things heading into next season. Personally, I think Ballard I thought Ballard was not a bad coach. Honestly, I don't think Ballard is a bad coach. I just think that FIU is not exactly a very attractive job. I've heard that they don't necessarily get the support that they deserve. I mean, they do play. I mean, to be honest, they play on the ugliest court. I think it was I think it was Topper Talk that says something how it should be an NCAA violation. But hey, to each their own, I suppose. But very interesting Conference USA coaching news. That was the result of the first round. Missouri State beating FIU. Very interesting week it is going to be for both sides on the men's and women's side. I will give my predictions for both sides in just a moment and keys to how they can make a deep run. I just wanted to preview the first matchups for them and for both sides first, and then talk a little bit about it for the men's side. By the way, they did get some honors. Just Cashy Nat, defensive player of the year. I don't think there's any doubt about it at all. I mean, you don't really need to look at the stats, and probably I'm just a little lazy to look at the stats, to be honest with you. But you didn't need to look at the stats to necessarily come up to the conclusion that he was going to be defensive player of the year. His presence, his wingspan, I mean, his instincts, it's bar none. And it also got him to Conference USA second team. Po Boy King also got Conference USA second team. Jacob Walker was honorable mention, and he was freshman all Conference USA team. He did get sixth player of the year, which I would have preferred that he got freshman of the year over that. I mean, he didn't play like a freshman, so I guess that's why people are confused. I mean, that's just my opinion. And of course, Chris Mudge winning the Gene Bartow Co-Conference USA Coach of the Year. A little bit of an interesting sentiment on that part where co-coach of the year, like, give it to one person. Like, I agree. I think it should have been just Mudge. I think he turned this program around from last year, and last year was just hard to watch. I mean, it was just Lamar Wilkerson and Marcus Boykin, Sacco, but last year was hard to watch, and there was a lot of injuries and some interesting other stuff, to say the least, that affected last year's team. And I think Mudge and the coaching staff that he hired, they did exactly the job they needed to do, which is rebuild the team, find a way to replace 96% of the scoring production, and they did that, and to get to a number 2 seed in the league, and they had a chance at one point to maybe take the Conference USA regular season championship and become the number 1 seed. But either way, congrats to Coach Mudge and all the guys that got Conference USA honors. But back to just real quick on tonight's matchup against Mississippi State before I give my predictions on how both women's and men's are going to do. The I think one big thing I also forgot to mention is going to be Jamel Jones versus Cassie Net. I think that's going to be a matchup to watch. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that as well. All right, let's go ahead, and I'm going to give my predictions first for the women's. First, keys. Mentioned it already. They just have to play their game, but they also have to find ways to score outside of points off of turnovers and breakaways, and like, okay, that's not probably what I should say. I don't like what I said there. I might cut that. Actually, I'm just gonna leave it in so that way y'all can laugh at my stupidity. It's just they need to find ways to score efficiently is what I'm trying to say. The free throw shooting obviously has to get better. Again, seen it many times where free throw shooting just screwed Sam Houston over. They have to get the free throw shooting down. Ogayemi, you can't necessarily rely on Ogayemi too much. It's the rocks. You're gonna have to spread the rock, which they have done very well. I'm gonna look at Inman to have a good tournament. I'm confident in Ogayemi. I'm confident in Kone. They need that third person, and I think that's gonna be Pop. And maybe Annika Corcoran gives you a couple threes a game. Asia War Strong, I think, is going to be very key as well. It's gonna be all about everything meshing, coming together. And if they can get past Liberty in this first round, I don't see why not they make the championship. Whether they win, I'm honestly too chicken to make it that kind of prediction. I do think, though, since La Tech is on that side of the bracket, that's where I think, unfortunately, they fall, is against La Tech if they move on, if they meet in the semi-final. On the men's side, I don't see why they don't make a run to the championship game where they could eventually face Liberty for a third time. Western Kentucky Kennesaw State game is going to be an interesting game to watch. I don't know who I prefer. Western Kentucky scares me in tournament time. I think men's basketball, as long as men's basketball continues to stay healthy, they really pick it up on defense, because the defense has not been good. And albeit it is really hard to adjust a lot of your game plan when your leading scorer is not out there on the floor. But the fact that they've made both, and you can have your own opinions about the Delaware game. I have my own opinions about the Delaware game. I think it was just a little legitimately shock and awe, and they still ended up scoring 80 points even without Po Boy King. And in the Liberty game, they still somehow made it close without Po Boy King. So with Poe expected to be back, which I've heard that he should be good to go, I just can't see any other reason why Sam Houston can't make the tournament besides, and I'll say this one more time, free throws. They got to be consistent. They got to be good. They got to at least shoot 73% from the free throw line. And hey, they got the losses. They probably got the ebbs and flows out of the way. We'll see what happens. But that'll do it for this podcast. I'll try to get this out. I was trying to get this out very quickly. So hopefully y'all have all the information y'all desired, and the good old Sam Houston Sports Talk that y'all wanted. If y'all haven't already, be sure you subscribe and all that great stuff. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. I'm Colin Neal saying so long for now. And as always, guys, eat 'em up cats. And let's see what happens this week as women's basketball and men's basketball look to make deep runs in the Conference USA tournaments in Huntsville, Alabama.